Hello everyone. Welcome to the final session of the day. I know it's just me between you and the universal party, but let's hope you can all last out to the end here. And before I forget to say it, and if you have any questions, please come here to me at the end of the session, so I'll be sticking around for a moment and I'll be answering your questions, of course. So this is today about the first-line workers, and especially about how to get them to adopt use of Microsoft Teams. As usual, or before Office 365 or before Microsoft Teams, it was very often the case that the first-line workers didn't necessarily have any kind of a connection to the rest of the company, or they had perhaps a shared workstation. Perhaps they had the news printed out for them, so-called legacy media, or they might have somebody, team lead, telling them what's going on, and so on. So it was not very easy for them to have the community with the rest of the company, and without going to speak to some persons. So this is all going to change with Teams, and if you are starting to roll out new tools for them. And this is a big change. Change can be scary. And so this is actually more about the change and how do you prepare your trainings so that they can understand why and why this is changing. This is about adoption. Let's take my clicker. Already forgot that one. I'm Vesa Nopanen. Please call me Vesku. I come from Finland, so it may explain my accent. I'm hoping you can all hear me well with all this noise around us. This is a bit noisy theater, but we can cope on. You can come closer to speakers if you want. So this is, as I said, this is about change, and this is about people. This is about getting them to understand why this change is happening. And it has been many cases when there has been a new tool that has been deployed to the people, and it just has been gone directly to the training phase, like explaining, okay, this is the tool, these are the functions, etc. And it's not the right way to do it. It's not the best practice. Of course, you will need to know about what they do. If I go there and start training you to some new tool, or especially start training first-line workers, they might have not used even more kind of tablets before, or they might have had some special tablets that have been developed for their specific use before, in their time. So in that case, Teams can be a way more generic tool, and they need to understand what is happening, why this is going on. And it is important to kind of learn to be, how can you coach them in the process? So it's not about, I'm training you these steps, I want to listen to you guys, I want to learn about you, so I can motivate you to be better. So again, this is about the change management all in here. But in the final phase, basically, is the onboarding. How do we support that? How do they start doing that? We have to train them, but we have to have a very simple start scenario that they can understand about. So first, it's about coaching. That's kind of one of the things. You have to know them. You have to know your audience. You have to know your first-line workers. One of the easiest way is to make a visit, make a field trip. Go and talk to them, know what they are doing, learn about them, their processes, especially learn about what is difficult. And think about things like, okay, it's a winter time, especially in Finland. Now they have clothes on. How that's going to happen, how they are going to be using Teams. So it's not necessarily just about, I can do these things, but where they can do those things, or how they can do, how can we plan their rollout so that they could actually use it for better benefits. And of course, when you are listening to their challenges, it may be also a process challenge. It may not be just the okay, it is very difficult to use some of those tools. I have to fill out the papers and they get lost or something like that. So think about what kind of feedback can you give to the project team as well, that how things should be rolling out, what kind of things you should note to, again, make it easier. Because people need to be motivated to learn. We are all here at the Microsoft Ignite. We want to learn. We want to get inspired about new things. And that's kind of a big motivation for us to attend all these sessions and kind of inhale more information. And so with all these, you can kind of boost up their desire to, hey, this looks like a cool tool. I want to use it. There's something good for me. There's some benefits. And as with all kind of these projects, start with pilot groups. Start to test out what works and what doesn't work. So you can find out kind of a good, solid story you can then roll out for multiple peoples. Perhaps you have so many first-line workers working there that you can't be just the sole trainer. So you can consider in these phases, okay, what is my kind of rollout program for trainings? Do I have to train the trainers? Do I take them in? Do I kind of get them to learn all these new things I have learned about the first-line workers in this phase? So you need to be able to adjust and adapt your training. It's not just something you can do directly. So on the downside, the mistake consultants and everybody does. Don't assume. Don't assume that the superior knows their work. Like it has happened to me many times that I go for preparing a training, talking with some manager or whoever has been ordering the training. He tells me how they work. And then when you get to the first-line workers, it's not the real world. It's not. There's going to be a gap. So if you're just assuming that everything works like it's been written, there has been a grand plan 5 years ago, 1 year ago, it's just not going to cope with that. So it will need that you will know your audience. And so you don't assume that you are being told the real world. And everything is not smooth from day one. Is it never? Ever. It's basically the thing that there can be network glitches, whatever kind of things that are happening. There's a rush hour coming. You have to be prepared for changes, like that you do on the fly. And something people sometimes assume is, okay, let's do 10 of these trainings and everybody else watches the videos, recordings. And it's not usually going to happen that way. You might get parts of that happen. Some people are willing to learn. And then again, if you embed, for example, questionnaires to the middle of the video, you might get more kind of interactivity in them. Then perhaps there's a slight better chance of success. But I wouldn't rely on recorded videos alone. So. And one thing about the onboarding, it's therefore like easy and required. The easy part is very simple because when you are rolling out something new to people, it needs to be as simple as possible. It can be like you have their working team where they are, and that's the team they are working. That may be the store or something like a store department. That's their people, that they know each other. There's a kind of a less resistant to ask questions from the others or make comments, etc. So it's kind of their working shift. You get all that information, what you have there. They have required information like documents, shifts, schedules, product information, etc. All that should be in their working team. That's the place where their team leader can post organizational news. So you have most of the stuff they need in one team. Don't create too many channels, because that's again a problem. Okay, to which channel I start posting? It's not going to work. So very simple approach on that. And the second team can be the organizational team. It could be their business unit, it could be the whole store. That's where they have guides, instructions. They may have the all-hand events. They can go ahead and ask CEO questions or something like that. So that's the rest of the company, the community part. So they can interact with the others. It is not just a silo, because otherwise nothing would change in there. And of course, prepare to provide support in their working environment. Let's say you roll out that to the store, and you are doing work with the pilot groups. And when they start using that tool, it is good to have somebody they know, somebody they trust that who knows the tool. So I could be there and providing you instructions. They can come to me, okay, how do I proceed from now? Like, be there. It's not a kind of a simple process that ends with when the training is over. And so you can do that a few times, or if it's a trainer, perhaps their trainer is there for them, like helping them out. But that's a kind of one of the things that's essential as well. But the required part, it may be something that's Teams only. It may be that the shifts are there. They are using the frontline workers tools, or they can find all the product information there, or they have to enter the tasks there, or mark the tasks complete. Because that's the way they have to use Teams. It is not optional. But they get exposed to that and see what else is there. They don't necessarily just go into that tool alone after a while. And establish a continuous sustainable support model, because when the project ends, the training project is done, you need to have a way to support them. It's usually there's peer-to-peer support, or there may be some kind of a Q&A team, or however they can ask for get answers to their questions. So that's also important. And again, some don'ts about not over-designing. Start simple. If you start thinking about, okay, they need these and these parts in there, so it can be kind of a very confusing experience, like, because there's too much to remember when it starts. You can add things later. It's way more easier, but at first they need to find the essential things they need in there. And whatever you do, don't make Teams yet another tool. It's not you have to have something that's replaced. And I skipped the what is changing on why part. Very good for me. It's a thing that comes with yet another tool, so it doesn't feel it like that. They know what is starting. They have to know explicitly what is starting and what do they stop doing. And of course, what remains the same. That's one more part that is essential to be there, because they have some consistency and what is going to be remaining the same in their work. And of course, when you think about the champions programs, team leads coach them better, train them better, so they can answer the questions. They can come up with more ideas when they have questions or thinking about, okay, should we do something differently? So they can have better answers for that. So it's a very good thing to have the team leads there. But also keep an eyes open for the other people who are working there. Some people are very motivated to use new tools and learn new practices and teach others. They are, of course, natural champions as well. And when you come to the training part, yeah, it's been a while, and you finally get to the training. And you start thinking about, okay, you need to do a hands-on training. You cannot do a kind of a training where you go through Teams UI and all the features. You need to think about the work they do, the use cases they have. For example, they have a case, shifts is a good example. How do they manage the shifts? How do they request shift change there? They're very motivated to learn that, because it's going to be most likely have good benefits for them if they have had a harder process before. For example, a company might make the shift changing a bit more easier this way. It's again something they want to learn and do. Then there could be a chat, of course. Hey, I can ask questions, I can share information, or I need to take a picture of that setup. I share that to the rest of the people. Is there any comments? Is there something missing? Or asking from their team lead about something. So you can go through with a long way with the very basic features of Teams, and show them, explain how it works in a mobile device. Using perhaps audio messages. They can't always talk or chat and write in there. So using all that stuff, you can make that start easy, but also kind of using the real work stuff. And if you have discovered these challenges, pain points, focus also on them. They want to make their work easier, that's for sure. Everybody wants to do that. So if you can find those, then you can just take them into training and focus on those parts as well. That helps because that inspires their intrigue as well. They want to, okay, I can do something way more easier than before. And of course, keep it simple, but also keep it simple in the groups you are training. If you have a smaller group, that's the team that works together. They can have fun with each other in a training, of course, but you can also go for hands-on. Here's the Teams, here's how you have installed it, here's how you log in, here's how you do these things. You can show them basically just on the side individually for each one. That may be required at the start, because that's how people also start learning better. You are focusing also on them. You have shown that you have interested about that they learn in there. And of course, add some fun. I usually ask or talk about with the company that, okay, can there be a fun channel for fun? Can they just have a kind of chit-chat channel? They can dump in whatever they want, or marketplace style information or something like that. Because that kind of lowers the bar to get into Teams as well. Hey, we can do something else. And so fun is again a good motivator for people to learn. Hey, this feels like a WhatsApp or something else. It's a kind of idea that can get them more focused here. And don't, again, I told that don't make it a technical training. It's not going to work. They don't see the meaning of that tool or why it's in use. If you just go through the features, you have to show the real use cases. And as a reminder, be humble. They might come up with some new ideas or new information about how they do their work. So, of course, you have to prepare to adjust there as well. So, I still have a minute or two. As I said early, the people are involved in every step. That's the thing. You need to know them so you can provide training that is directed at them. They need to know what is changing so they can. You will encounter less resistance for change, because this is all about change management. And when you coach them with the real work examples, you try to learn from them, okay, and you will give that learning back to them in that specific training. Required, but easy start, yeah, that's I explained very truly already. And the support model, that's important not to forget that part. Because they will need support, they will have new employees, they will have new team members. And once you get through this once, it is a good place to start thinking about, okay, perhaps they could use calling features, like make a video call. I have this issue here, there, something like that. Okay, let's use a video for that, and they can show, they can have like a remote consulting there, or something like that. And that kind of parts you can bring into the trainings later, like having it additive. You can add on the previous trainings, so they don't have to chunk up too much information at first place, because it needs to be in a real work and cases. So that was my last session in this Ignite. Thank you all you remained there here. And now I think it's time for the party. Thank you.